Welcome and thank you for your choice in listening to Lit Muses Podcast with your host, Beryl. Lit Muses has guest performances that include varied literary themes and genres such as monologues, spoken word, short stories, haiku, and poetry. We are motivated in making our podcast ADA accessible. Our first guest is Hope Harley, who will be performing a monologue from Pearl Cledge's Flying West. Before Hope presented her choice of monologues, I absolutely knew nothing about Pearl Cledge or Flying West. The play is a historical fiction set in the real town of Nicodemus, Kansas in 1898. Cledge's sensitivity as a writer is particularly revealed through her characterization of women. She points out her protagonist's strengths, such as leadership and their strong bond with other women, while celebrating them as the heroes of their stories. Her idea to write Flying West was sparked after she read an article written by Ida B. Wells in the 1890s, where Ida was urging African Americans to leave their homes in Memphis for the West in search of freedom. Pearl Cledge is an African American playwright and uses this medium to portray the fortitude of Black women, their struggle for existence in the dominant patriarchal society. Actually, that's what it sounds like living today is in 2022. And these women that Cledge portrayed can tide over any difficult situation in their lives. Hope is playing the character of Miss Leah, who is a 73-year-old woman who spent most of her life in slavery. She is feisty, demands respect, speaks her mind, and believes strongly in the oral tradition. After her performance, we will have a conversation with Hope and her thoughts about Flying West.
Am I feeling all right? If I was you, I'd be worrying about folks talking about shooting somebody. That's who I'd be worrying about. It's a messy business shooting folks. It ain't like killing a hog, you know. Sheriff got to come. White folks got to come. All that come with shooting somebody. But folks die in all kinds of ways. Sometimes they be going along just as nice as you please, and their heart just give out, just like that. Don't nobody know why. Things just happen. One day, a little bit before I left the plantation, Colonel Harrison bought him a new cook, Ella. She was a big, strong woman. She didn't make no trouble either, just worked hard and kept to herself. Ella knew a lot about herbs, what to put in to make it taste good. Colonel Harrison just loved the way she cooked. He used to let her roam all over the plantation picking her wild herbs to put in her soups and stews. And she wouldn't tell nobody what she used. Said it was secrets from Africa. White folks didn't need to know. Colonel Harrison just laughed. He was eating good and didn't care about where it come from, no way. But after a while, that overseer started messing around her, trying to get Colonel Harrison to let him have his way with her. But Colonel Harrison said no and told him to stay from around her. She belonged in the kitchen. But that old overseer still wanted her, and everybody knew the next time he had a chance, he was going to get her. So one day, Colonel Harrison went to town. Gonna be gone all day. So that overseer put some poor colored man in charge of our misery And he walked on up to the house like he the master now that Colonel Harrison had gone off. And when he walked up onto the back porch, he had one thing on his mind. But Ella had been up early too. And the first thing he saw, before he even saw her, was a fresh apple pie cooling in the window. And it smelled so good, he almost forgot what he come for. And Ella opened up the screen door, and she smiled like he the person she wanted to see most in this world. And she asked him if he'd like a glass of cold milk and a piece of her hot apple pie. Of course he did. What man wouldn't? And he sat down there and she cut him a big old slice. And she told him it was hot and to be careful not to burn himself. And do you know what happened? Well, he never got to finish that piece of pie Ella cut for him so pretty. Heart just stopped right in the middle of a great big bite. By the time the master got home, they had him laid out in the barn, and Ella was long gone. But she did do one last thing before she left. She gave me her recipe for apple pie.
I hope that you've enjoyed Hope as Miss Leah as much as I have. I'm happy to introduce Hope Harley for our conversation part of the podcast. Hello, Hope, and welcome. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation to be Lit Muses Podcast's first guest performer.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
So you chose to perform a monologue from Pearl Cledge's Flying West. You also alerted me to the fact that I was pronouncing Pearl's last name, Cledge, incorrectly. So if you would let me know what or how it is supposed to sound, please do.
Well, I was also pronouncing it incorrectly.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was saying that it's Pearl Cleage.
Right.
But after I heard you say Cledge, I said, well, maybe it's Cledge.
Mm-hmm.
So I went online and I found an actual interview with Pearl Clegg.
Wow.
Clegg. And
yes.
I said, oh.
So let's move on from there. The genre of this particular play I read, because I did a lot of research once you told me about the monologue and the playwright, I knew nothing about Pearl or Flying West. So in doing some of the research, I found that the genre for this particular play is considered a historical fiction because it is based on a true place and an historical time in America. What were your thoughts on Pearl Clegg and playing Flying West character Miss Leah?
Well, I know that you did a lot more research than I did, because I've never actually done the full play, but I've seen it, and because the play is, I would say, produced fairly frequently at companies throughout the country. But I saw it probably a decade ago, and I always liked it because women are the dominant characters in the play. It's female heavy, and they're not weak characters. They're all strong characters with their own thoughts and their own ambitions and all of that. So I thought that was interesting. And there's a lot of humor in the play.
Mm-hmm.
So And there's education in the play, because I didn't know about Nicodemus, Kansas, and never even thought about women post enslavement moving out on their own, being independent. It's
Right.
not something that you associate with the late 1800s
Right.
for any race of women, for any woman, but for Black women in particular, never even considered that might be a possibility.
Right.
So yeah, I just always liked the themes of the play. So.
Right. Well, I had read that Pearl was commissioned to do this play by a theater called the Alliance Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that she was inspired to do it actually by reading something that was written by Ida B. Wells in the late 1890s, where she was writing women or families to leave Memphis and to go out west, to gain their own freedom, from all of the things that were happening.
Economic freedom, yeah.
Economic freedom, but also freedom from the Jim Crow that was happening in the South after slavery was over. Because it even though the actual slavery was over, the hate-filled feeling that was left over was still there and very dominant, and still is, and that's one of the reasons why I enjoyed learning about this play, because it's something that I feel as though if it was done today, it would do a service to people because of the historic meaning and the outcome.
Right.
So
I agree. I think that's the mark of a good play.
Right.
That the play in whatever time it's in, translates well.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
And I think that Pearl Clegg, we gonna pronounce her name right.
Right.
Did a fantastic job, because the play is almost 30 years old now.
Right. But it's definitely apropos for today's setting in so many ways. The fact that, women's rights have been recently taken away by the Supreme Court's decision to end Roe versus Wade. So the craziness that's happening in our governments from the ex-president on down is something again that can be thought of as well. She's noted as an African-American playwright that is a playwright of the Theater of Revolt, which is a place where playwrights can voice their opinions and oppositions to social changes and injustices. This is I found out in my research about her and the play. And the Theater of Revolt is where radical ideas are born, challenging the status quo. So that this could definitely be done today and enjoyed by the public.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So you said that the reason why you chose the play was because of it having the abundance of women as characters. And is there any particular reason that you chose to play Miss Leah?
Well, I chose Miss Leah, first of all, because she's in my age group. Mm-hmm. She's the oldest character in the play.
Okay.
And I liked the humor of this monologue. I just liked her overall attitude throughout the play. Mm-hmm. And I never had an opportunity, even though the play has been done many times over the years, I've never had an opportunity to even audition for a production.
Right.
And I almost came close because a couple of friends of mine who lived here in Teaneck, New Jersey a few years ago started a company called Who's on Stage, a theater company. And the first year we did just readings. We chose some readings, and the three of us worked on readings from plays and poems and things like that. In 2019, I guess, we expanded to monologues and scenes from plays using other actors as well. And I had considered doing this monologue from Flying West. In fact, I think we also considered doing a scene from Flying West, but that got pushed by the wayside, didn't do it. So when you asked me, to do something.
Yeah, pick a monologue. Yes.
I said, this is it. This is it right here.
Well, I enjoyed it, and I want to tell you did such an excellent job that I hope that it will be on YouTube as well as my website. So outside of the podcast, if people want to see you in that performance, I will be giving a link on the on SoundCloud so that people can refer to it. And also, I'm trying to also be ADA accessible. So I'm hoping that it will be looked at because of the closed captions and transcriptions, that people of all different audiences will also be able to enjoy it. So
I think that's great, B.
Yeah. I really would like, that to be part of my whole podcasting, production. When did you decide to get into acting? Because it's not something that you've always done. Let us know the journey you went through to get to the point that you're at now.
Okay. Well, I started out as a child. Anyway, I think I always wanted to be an actor ever since I was a kid. Didn't get a lot of opportunity to do that until high school. And in high school, I joined what is really the drama club, but it was called production class. And in that class, we did all kinds of pieces. We did an anti-war piece called Bury the Dead, where the soldiers that had been killed in the war refused to lie down and be buried. That was their protest against
the Vietnam War.
Well, it wasn't the Vietnam War. I think it was really World War One.
Okay.
One, but it was just anti-war overall.
Right.
And I did, with some sort of performance, I did some kind of skit as Phyllis Diller, of all people. And younger people don't even know who Phyllis Diller is now.
Right.
But if you Google her name, you'll see it. She was a very funny white female comedian. And I don't know what I was doing, but I was up there and I made people laugh. So that was the be all.
I do remember you playing that. I do, because I remember you wearing that dress again.
Yeah,
I believe when we went out to a disco.
Exactly. You're right. Because I had this silver dress that I made.
Yep.
I actually made it myself, but I used that silver dress, and yes, we did. We get to the disco.
Yep. It was the mod period.
Yes, it was the mod period. Okay, now you're really giving away our age, baby.
That's okay.
Anyway, but thank God for it. But then after high school, I really didn't do anything at all. Nothing. Always in the back of my mind, the same little girl that practiced her Academy Award recipient speech with the hairbrush. I was probably doing it when I was 45. And, if only, I wish I could have played a part like that, that kind of stuff. And finally, I was in my early 50s when my son, who was by then an adult and well into adulthood, took a class at the Frederick Douglass Creative Arts Center. And he took a class in screenwriting. And he called me and he said, they have acting classes here. Maybe you might want to try that, since you're always talking about being an actor. So I took it as a challenge. and enrolled in a class with a woman by the name of Petronia Paley, who is still in my life. I've taken multiple classes with her, among others, and thinking about taking her class in the fall, actually, because, you can never get enough learning.
Right.
You can't, that is never ending.
Right. You can always hone your skills.
Absolutely. She is my friend. She is my mentor. She's just a wonderful person. So did that, but I did that for like 7 or 8 years. And then finally I said, why are you taking all of these classes? What are you going to do with it?
Right.
And I decided, and I believe it was the beginning of 2009, I committed myself that as a resolution for that year, that I was going to audition for something. And I auditioned for a piece. I don't know where I found the audition notice. I auditioned for a piece, and it wasn't a play. It was some kind of production that a young woman was putting together for women who had been through kind of hard times. And I guess these pieces were supposed to encourage them. And I went on this audition, my very, 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 very first. I was terrified, and they handed out the sides, so people could get familiar with what, they wanted you to say. And I was the very last person to go in. And I had emailed this woman because I didn't know if she was looking for experienced actors. And I had zero experience, zero, except for the little things we did in class. I had zero experience. And I told her that, and she told me to audition anyway. And I went in last and by that time I had practically memorized the piece that she gave us and did my audition. She thanked me, I left. And then later that night, she emailed me with this wonderful email that I still have to this day because I printed it out and I keep it. She said, I would have never known this was your first audition. You were wonderful, and I'd like to offer you the part. And I was flabbergasted.
I know, I can imagine.
But of course, that production never happened. But it gave me the boost I needed, I think, to say, okay, maybe I can do this.
Right. It empowered you.
It did.
Even the fact of the purpose of her production, it was, I think, very good, and something that probably should be done again in terms of empowering women who are going through certain issues. It could be abuse or, any number of things. I think that's a great way to empower them.
Yeah, and I think that, at least for me, the most powerful pieces, the most plays, TV shows, movies, are those that not only entertain you, but also make you think, give you bits of education, uplift you in some way. And those are the kinds of pieces that I look for. They're not always there unless you write them yourself. I mean, I've been trying to write for myself. I haven't gotten far with that, but those are the kinds of things that I'm interested in doing. Things that yes, entertain. Yes, you want to go and be entertained, but you also want leave. I want people to leave with something to talk about. So.
Right. Yes. I love that idea. So, what are some of the roles that you played? I know you played some part in Emmett Till's life and Raisin in the Sun. What are some of the roles that you've played?
Yes, well, A Raisin in the Sun, I played Mama in A Raisin in the Sun at Gallery Players in Brooklyn. And that was really my first big role. I mean, that was a big role. And again, terrifying audition, terrifying. Because I went in there and I saw people that I knew, and I knew their talent and I knew their ability. And I said, okay, hope you ain't got a chance. If you go in there, for the experience, because, it's a good experience to audition and all of that. And then I got a call back. And again, I went in there with people that I saw that I knew. And I said, I don't have a chance in hell of getting this.
Mm-hmm.
Then they offered it to me. And then I said, be careful what you ask for.
True, very true.
Because I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? But I got
Yes.
to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll critique myself. I won't say it certainly wasn't the best mama that has ever been done on stage, but I held my own because I was among a lot of more experienced actors,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a wonderful experience for me. And then I got an opportunity to play Emmett Till's mother through a production called Whistle in Mississippi, and this was Shades of Truth Theater, and their mission is to highlight forgotten stories about Black folks in America. Maybe not necessarily forgotten, but stories that need, to be out there for us to know about. And I got to play Emmett's mom multiple times because we took that show to schools, we took it, to different church audiences. I must have played that role at least 10, 15 times. And it was wonderful. That was the kind of theater that I want to do.
Right.
And then most recently, I guess it really is my biggest role to date. And that was at a regional theater, Ivoryton Playhouse in Connecticut. And it was a 3-week run of having our say, the Delaney sisters' first 100 years. And it was challenging because it's only a 2-person play and there's about 50,000 words in that play. And I said, I'm never going to remember all of this. But on most nights, I remembered 49,932 something. But certainly, again, it was a story about these real life women from this amazing, African American family, the vestiges of which are still here, productive. They were just an amazing family. All of those children, they were doctors and lawyers and dentists. The character I played, Bessie Delaney, was a dentist in Harlem for many years. Her sister Sadie, they lived together for decades and decades and decades. Neither of them ever married. Sadie was the first Black high school teacher in the city. So, they're just a very, very accomplished family.
Right.
And it was wonderful. It was challenging, but it brought together all of the elements that I liked. It was educational. It was funny. It was, and entertaining.
Right.
And it gave people insight into the lives of this wonderful family.
Right. Well, with the role with so much to memorize, what happens if you don't remember a line and you're on stage?
Oh God, you make up. Or sometimes your fellow actor helps you. I mean,
right.
Maybe they prompt you. Maybe they just say the next line and you go on. I mean, we had a couple of nights where, especially at the very beginning of the run, where both of us went up on our lines. I know I'm playing Bessie, and I called Sadie Bessie a few times in the first
right.
I was up there, and I'm like, oh, people must be really confused. Why am I calling her Bessie? But
that's funny.
Things happen. You just go on, and I don't know if the audiences remember it. So yeah, you stumble here and there, but if you just press on, then they forget that, and they're into this story and
right.
these people. So, and everybody misspeaks.
Right. Right. Well, I would like you just to take a moment to talk about the fact that you were in corporate America for so many years, and just to give people who may be getting ready to retire and they think that might be the end of what they're doing, to encourage them to go out and try something that they haven't tried or that they've been wanting to do for all the years that they had to work instead?
Well, I always say that retirement is what you work for. You work for the opportunity to get to the place where you don't have to work anymore, where your time is your own. And I would encourage anybody, even pre-retirement, if there's something that you want to do, get involved. I mean, I started taking acting classes while I was still working. And it wasn't until a couple of years after I had retired that I started auditioning. Still sort of floundering around. But you realize that you live until you die. So live it, don't stop. You might not move as quickly as you used to, or you might not feel as good as you did when, you were 30. But there are other things that you gain with age. I certainly know that if I had started acting when I was younger, if I had started acting in my 20s, I don't know if I would have made it in the sense that I don't know if I would still be acting now, because it's a tough business. There's a lot of rejection. People say no a lot. You hear a lot more no's than yeses.
Right.
And I don't know if my ego could have taken it at 25.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Now I'm like, okay, you didn't like it. Okay, I wasn't what you were looking for, and you just move on.
And I also think it's so important to learn new things and to keep your mind as active as you can, because I believe all of that helps to keep you from the throes of dementia and Alzheimer's or whatever the case may be that may not be biological. So it's important to always keep it moving and enjoying what life has to offer, and challenges. I think the challenges are even more important than anything else, to have a challenge in your life that you can meet.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And, that doesn't mean that there aren't some days when I say, oh God, what am I doing?
Of course, why?
Why am I doing this? But then there are other days where, I say, wow, I'm really doing this.
Right.
And I'm proud of myself.
Right.
And, I may never be able to give that Oscar speech or a Tony speech or an Emmy speech or anything like that. But I'm really kind of proud of what I've done. For the most part, they were plays.
Right, exactly.
It was really where there were more people on the stage than there were in the audience. They were not good.
Right.
But, it was an opportunity to try something. So.
Right. Well, I am so happy that you did the monologue playing Miss Leah from Pearl Clegg's Flying West, and I really appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone is going to enjoy that, and definitely will be doing something else in the future.
Okay, well, thank you, Beryl.
Absolutely.
I've known her for a lot of years, so I can shorten my name to B.
Absolutely. All right, we will talk soon. Thank you again.
Love you.
Love you too.
Bye-bye.
Hoping that you like what you heard, please join us for Lit Muses monthly episode found on SoundCloud. So until we meet again, be well, be happy, and please come back.